Essay Structure by Sandra Gardner. This is a brief overview of the structure for academic essays. Now, how should you start writing your essays? In a little bit, we'll talk about how your essay should start. But how should you start writing your essay? There are two main ways to approach it. You can begin free writing, or you can make an outline. To free write, just grab a pen and paper or pencil and paper or type, whatever's best for you, the ideas that come to your mind for the essay, and then you can worry about organization and development later. Or you can make an outline first with your main ideas and fill in the details later, and then make everything a complete sentence. Either way is correct, and you can do it one way for one assignment and one way for another assignment. It doesn't matter. It's just what works for you. So there are two main theories for how to write an essay, the formula style or the free writing style. Most instructors prefer creative organic writing when they have the finished product of an essay draft. And what that means is it's not necessarily a strict structure. However, they do expect a certain structure. So you have to find how to balance this with what the instructor requires from you and what is just natural and good for you as a writer. One commonly taught but also sometimes disliked formula is the 5-paragraph essay. The 5-paragraph essay, of course, has 5 parts. The first part is an introduction, which is the first paragraph of the essay. And let's pretend you're going to have just a 5-paragraph essay. Your second paragraph will be your first body paragraph. And then your third paragraph is just going to be another body paragraph. Your next paragraph is going to be another body paragraph, and at the end you have a conclusion. Now, the reason why many instructors don't like you to write this way is that it constricts you to writing only 5 paragraphs. Sometimes you can have just 2 body paragraphs as long as they're well developed, or you can have many more. It depends on the assignment, it depends on what you have to say. So most essays really do need an introduction paragraph. That's the paragraph that says hello to your reader. So the first thing you should have at the very beginning of your essay after your nice format is a hook. And a hook is what grabs the reader's attention. And then you need to transition from your hook to your thesis. And that just means in any way that you can, make sure that that hook that you use to get the reader's attention is connected to your main idea, what you have to say. And that is your thesis, your big idea, your main message. And it's usually stated in 1 or 2 sentences. So all of this is in your first paragraph, your introduction paragraph. So what is the hook? The hook is what gets your reader's attention. It's what makes them want to listen to what you have to say. A hook can be a controversial or provocative question. It can be a contradictory position on an accepted myth or assumption related to your topic. It can be a startling fact or statistic as long as it's properly cited. It can be a connection to a current event or controversy that's related to the topic of your essay. It can be an anecdote or short story. It can be the historical background on the topic of your essay. It can be a quote related to the topic, again, as long as it's cited properly. Or it can be a definition of a key concept in your essay. And that doesn't mean a definition from the dictionary. That means your own definition. So for your hook, you won't be using all of these strategies, but these are some strategies you can choose from. So choose one of these to begin your essay, to provide the first sentence or few sentences of your introduction paragraph. And that builds up to the most important part of your essay, which is the thesis or thesis statement. So we need to know what a thesis is because it's so important. It introduces your topic and your opinion and gives the reader an overview of what your essay is about and or what you are trying to prove. It contains an opinion. It's not just a fact. And it contains the significance of your opinion. Why is your opinion important to the reader? It contains a strong verb, preferably an active one. So if you have a to be verb, that's probably not going to be as strong as using an active verb. And because it's your thesis, this should really be grammatically and structurally correct. Of course, your whole essay should be, but if your thesis is grammatically incorrect, it really stands out to the reader, especially your teacher. After your introductory paragraph, you will have your body paragraphs that make up the majority of your essay. Usually, they're longer than the introduction and conclusion. A body paragraph usually has 3 parts: a topic sentence, supporting sentences, and a transition. So the topic sentence will be explained soon, as will a supporting sentence. You may have learned a transition to be a concluding sentence in a body paragraph, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So at the top of each body paragraph, you should have a topic sentence. Some instructors aren't strict about it being the first sentence, but to play it safe, put it there anyway. Very often, students will write and find that their topic sentence naturally occurs toward the bottom of their body paragraphs. That's because how the human brain works. We come to our conclusions later. That is the structure for an introduction paragraph. But for a body paragraph, you want that main idea to be at the top. That's the accepted structure. So what is the topic sentence? It is a mini thesis just for the paragraph. So it's not your idea for the entire essay. It's just your main idea, your opinion, for the paragraph. And of course, it too must be an opinion, not just a fact. And try not to begin your body paragraphs with a quote for your essay. Again, your topic sentence should be your opinion, not somebody else's words. So that first sentence, the beginning of your body paragraph, for each body paragraph, should not be a quote. And then we have the real meat of your essay. So if the rest of your essay is the skeleton, then your supporting sentences are all of the evidence that prove what you're saying in your thesis and your topic sentences. It's how you build your essay. You can use statistics or facts within your body paragraphs after the topic sentence. You can give examples and more anecdotes, again, little stories. You can use quotes as long as they're properly cited. And you can use more development, your own words of what you have to say. Make sure when you use any of these that you explain and analyze how they are related to your topic sentences and to your thesis. You don't want to just insert a fact or insert a quote. You must explain each of these supporting ideas within a sentence. At the end of each body paragraph, you should have a transition. A transition just connects one paragraph to another paragraph. Let's say you have a piece of jewelry. On that piece of jewelry, you have charms or jewels. Those are the important parts. So the important parts of your essay are the thesis, the topic sentences, and your supporting sentences, of course. You can't have an essay without those. If you had an essay without transitions, it would be like having a piece of jewelry without the chain. The chain doesn't seem very important, it doesn't stick out, but it connects everything together, so it's necessary. So a transition connects one paragraph to another. and usually they are the last sentence of a paragraph, although they could be within the topic sentence, but I prefer them at the end of the paragraph. They do more than just conclude your paragraph. If you had a paragraph all by itself, you would have a concluding sentence, giving a sense of closure to the reader. But you don't want to close your essay in the middle of your essay or somewhere else. That just comes at the end. So you want the last sentence of your body paragraphs to connect your paragraphs together, not just conclude one paragraph. So transitions are more than just transition words or expressions such as however and furthermore. They connect the idea, the main idea, of one paragraph to the paragraph after it. So how do those two ideas within the paragraphs relate to each other? And then when you've done all of that, you have to say goodbye to your reader. If you were having a conversation and you just turned around and left with the last thing you had to say, that wouldn't be polite. It's the same thing with an essay. A conclusion is when you wrap up your essay and say goodbye to the reader. The conclusion should support your thesis. Very often it may reiterate or repeat the thesis, but never in the same words. That would just be copying and pasting. So take a good look at your thesis, and if you want to restate it in your conclusion, say it in different words. You could use a thesaurus to help you do that. Your conclusion should not just be a summary of your essay. That would be quite boring. A conclusion can refer back to the introduction by revisiting the same information from a new enlightened viewpoint. For instance, if you use the strategy of asking a question as your hook in the introduction, you can answer the question in your conclusion. Or if you begin a story as an anecdote as a hook in your introduction, you can finish that story in your conclusion. Those are just some options. But there should be a sense of closure for the reader at the end of your essay in that last paragraph. Different kinds of essays share similar elements. All essays are a form of argument and benefit from the inclusion of analysis. Now that doesn't mean you're going to argue with your reader. Argument just means you are proving your point. So even if you're writing an essay showing how to play tennis, you're proving the best way to play tennis. And so you're writing argument. So you must analyze the why of everything you say. And all essays can benefit from descriptive language. You may be asked from time to time to write a descriptive essay. Of course you had descriptive language in that essay. But any essay that you write benefits from descriptive language because that helps paint a picture for the reader. And definitions are more creative if they are personal and not straight from a dictionary. So as a hook or anywhere within your essay, if you choose to define a word, don't get a word from a dictionary. The reader can do that themselves. Create your own definition and make it clear for the reader that that's the definition that you're using. Thank you for listening.